We're ready to roll.
And what verse?
Oh, we're going to start at the beginning of John chapter 9. All right, we'll start off in prayer. Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for this gathering. We ask for your spiritual nutrition to make us stronger, to give us strength in everything that we need. We thank you for this opportunity to learn more about you, and we ask that you just open up our hearts and our mind and give us clarity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So in the text messages that I send out, I'm starting to do the messages based on some of those text messages so that they go in line maybe with stuff that you've already read in the brief things that it gives you a little bit more background into what my messages will be. As with every single time I talk, I want you to understand that one of the key things about this is your mind. The key about everything right now that we're going through is in your mind. Once your understanding of God gets clarity, you will be stronger. Once you realize that He takes care of you, you'll be less stressed. Once you learn certain things about God, you will be drawn closer to Him. Now, if everything you've ever been taught about God was taught to you by some religious person or an upbringing or whatever, there might be some misunderstandings that you have that give you hesitancy to even know God. The God that I grew up with was angry with me, and there came a point in my life that even in a very young teenage years that I just realized that I'm so crazy and I'm so messed up that there's no way I'm going to be able to get this. So if this is the standards that I need to follow in order for me to know Him, then I'm just not going to know Him. And throughout being in the streets, throughout being in prison, there were times that I came very, very, very close to death. And things happened in my life that were unexplainable. You can call it a miracle, like what we're going to read tonight about the blind man. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But when in my mind, they were God protecting me. Now, if it had only happened once, I probably would have just blown it off and thought it was nothing. I spent 7 years in prison. No one in the entire 7 years I was in prison ever laid a hand on me. That's impossible. Everyone gets whooped. Everyone has a hard time. Everyone has to. That never happened to me. No one of any race, of any age, ever laid a finger on me the entire time I was there. I saw it happen on the right. I saw it happen on the left. I saw somebody's face get smashed in the ground. I saw the most horrendous violence. And in the streets. People got shot that were next to me, but the bullets didn't enter into my body. Places that I was standing at one point, later that day, right where I was standing, had a drive-by shooting. This has happened repeatedly. One time I had been up for days, and it was over there by Turkey Creek before they had kind of remodeled that over there. And they did some stuff differently, and I had a car that had really, really bad tires. And didn't have any tread on them. And it was kind of wet. You know how the road gets when it's kind of wet, but it's not real wet? And it gets real slick. And I flew off the side of the road. And when I flew off on the side of the road, the car was out of control. And then at some point, the car turns back on, and the next thing you know, I'm in the middle of the road, in the middle of the lane, driving as if I had never gotten off the road. And when I'm back on the road, because I'm bouncing in all of this brush and all of that, and the car is out of control at this point, and I'm waiting to when I'm going to run into this tree. And I'm going really fast, probably going 70 when I flipped off the road. The next thing you know, I'm back on the road. I'm back on 2818. I'm in the lane perfectly, and I'm driving, and I'm fixing to go to this dope house right down the street. I'm going to pick this guy up. And when I'm driving, I had been up for days, but it just woke me up. And I was like, whoa. And I'm driving there, and there was a voice inside of my head that said, don't tell these people what just happened. And I didn't realize why. But because I had been up for days and they were my cocaine dealers that I was fixing to go take to re-up and do something, if I had told them what had just happened, they would have told me that I had been up for days and I didn't know what I was talking about. So I called them when I get in the parking lot, and they live in this upstairs apartment. And when they come down the stairs, the next thing you know, they see me and I'm underneath my car. I had a black Camry at the time. I'm underneath my car. And the reason I was underneath my car is because part of me thought it didn't happen. But when I got underneath my car, there was brush and leaves and all of this stuff that I had gathered when I was going through that. So I knew it was real. And I never told them. And later in life, God was telling me this. What I do for you, they may not believe in. But I need you to see it. It doesn't matter if you believe it. It doesn't matter if you believe it. But if God has protected me in this arena, even if nobody else believes my story, as long as I believe it, then I'm hearing clearly. And then I started to piece together all the different times in my life that I was so close to death, ODing. I remember I did some really bad cocaine one time and I OD'd and I was in the hospital. And when they let me out, on the way home from the hospital, I bought more cocaine. That's just how it happened. Over and over. I wish I could say that these moments instantaneously woke me up, but they didn't. But now, in my life right now, I can look back on all of these things and I see this bigger picture. Like me sitting right here. Like me working at rehab. Like me doing what I'm doing now. All of my friends are dead or in prison, but I'm still alive. And it didn't make any sense to me until it brought me to this point. He protected me even when I was acting wild because he loved me. Now, they told me that if you do wrong, God is going to remove his protection from you. But that can't be true because I was doing wrong with no intention of stopping, and he was still protecting me. And the reason why, and I said this many times in this Bible study, if you have a daughter or a son and they act wild, you would not let the back door stay open so some stranger could come in and whoop them in the middle of the night just to teach them a lesson. They would always try to tell me that everything that's going bad for you is because of your choices and God is allowing this to happen. And so my perception of who God was and what was going on was very strange in my mind. It didn't make a lot of sense. But over time, I knew that it can't be right that he only protects me when I'm doing good because he was even protecting me when I wasn't. You know why he was protecting me? Because he knew I would get it later. Sometimes in rehab, it's just how it is. I plant seeds of people who are not going to be sober when they get out, but they may get sober later. And I can remember the small, simple acts of kindness that people have shown to me over the years that later said, you know what, I still believe in humans. I still believe in love. I still believe in God. And I had to do this weird thing where I divorced religion and religious people and still believe in God. That's a hard thing to do. I love AA, but some of it irritates me to death. I love sobriety, but some of the people I really don't want to be in the same room with. The same is true of religious people. I love God, but they don't get to represent God to me. That's them. And instead of me believing that God did this to me, I had to start believing and understanding that was those people who did that to me. And I'm not going to let them ruin an opportunity to know God because of that. All right, so John chapter 9. We're going to talk about John chapter 9 and we're going to talk about John chapter 11 if I have enough time. Jesus heals a man born blind. Is everyone there? All right. As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. I'm going to keep reading. After saying this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? Some claimed that he was. Others said, no, it only looks like him. But he himself insisted, I am the man. How then were your eyes opened, they asked. He replied, the man they called Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash, and so I went and washed, and then I could see. Where is this man, they asked. I don't know, he said. Okay, so the disciples and Jesus are walking along. And they see this man that has been born blind, never been able to see in his lifetime. So he had no ability to take care of himself. And just like the people that were crippled, they had to sit and beg. And somebody had to take care of them their whole life in order for them to even survive. And so this man who has never been able to see anything, all he's been dependent on is the kindness of strangers his whole life. And so Jesus walks by and sees this person. And his disciples ask a question that we all ask. Whose fault is it that he's blind? If he was born blind, was it him who sinned? Which is impossible because he was born blind. Was it him who sinned or his parents? So the reason I bring this up is this. Many people think when bad things are happening in their life, it must be God punishing me. Okay? So you have to understand, Mary gets pregnant by God and Joseph, and they have Jesus inside of them. And everywhere they went, people were trying to kill them. They had to run over here and run over here. The reason he was born in a manger is because they were running. God would tell him, go over here, run over here. The entire time she was pregnant with Jesus, all hell was breaking loose. Over and over and over and over again. Jesus starts helping people, and immediately the religious leaders want to kill him. I'm saying this because of this. Just because bad things are happening in your life do not always translate into meaning that God must be mad at me and he's punishing me. He was definitely not mad at Mary. He was definitely not mad at Joseph. And what they learned in those experiences is that even when danger's around me, God's still going to protect me. So I don't want you looking at what you're facing. I want you looking at me. So Mary and Joseph were dependent on prayer and dependent on God's direction the entire time. Danger was all around them, like me in prison. And yet he still protected them. You know what that taught them? That taught them to depend on God. He wants you to need him. AA says we need a power greater than ourselves. Like, I know I can't be doing this right now on my own strength because I had lost it. In 2009, I didn't barely even leave my house. The anxiety, my mental state of mind was so crazy that it was suicidal thoughts every day. I had fear. I could barely walk. I was paralyzed in everything that I did. My fear had mutated into something so overwhelming that every time I left the house, I would have thoughts about shit that wasn't even real. And when I had those thoughts, my mind would start racing, my heart would start pounding, my chest would cave in, and now I'm having thoughts in my mind that aren't real. And because the mind has such a control over your body, now I'm scared and I can't do anything. And it was so crazy because to envision myself where I am now, I never saw that. God just wanted me to depend on him step by step. So the disciples say, whose fault is this? And God said, it wasn't anybody's fault. But because he is blind, the glory of God today is going to be revealed. And so Jesus does crazy stuff. He spit on the ground, a loogie on the ground, and made mud out of it, and he put it on the guy's eyes. This was not modern medicine, okay? This was not. It was everything that Jesus does in his encounters with people is all based on faith. And he put that on the guy's eyes, and then he told him, go and wash. And that guy had to either believe what Jesus said and follow his instructions, or he had to just wipe his face off and nothing would have happened. But because he believed and he went and washed, it said as soon as he washed, he could see. Then he's now seeing for the first time. If you can only imagine what a life would be like that was in complete darkness. And the people whose voices you heard, now you see them. This has to be the most craziest thing. Yes, it was great, but it was also scary. Because this guy is now seeing everything. He goes back to where he's from. And the people who've known him for years, they're having a debate on whether or not it was him or not. Some say, I think that's that guy who's been begging. And somebody else says, no, that's not possible. Because fast forward to 2025, we still can't heal the blind. Jesus did things that medically we still don't know how to do. That's why it was so amazing. So they asked him, and he doesn't know what Jesus looks like. Because he didn't see until after he walked. So he knows his voice and he knows that his name was Jesus, but he doesn't know what he looks like in anything. And the only thing that he does know is a few minutes ago I was blind and now I can see. And they want this report. Who is this? And he goes, no, it is me. And Jesus did it. Here's where this spins out of control. Verse 13, they brought to the Pharisees the man who had been blind. Now the day on which Jesus made the mud and opened the man's eyes was the Sabbath. Therefore the Pharisees also asked him how he received his sight. He put mud on my eyes, the man replied, and I washed, and now I see. Some of the Pharisees said, this man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. But others asked, how can a sinner perform such signs? So they were divided. Then they turned again to the blind man. What have you to say about him? It was your eyes he opened. The man replied, he is a prophet. They still did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they sent for the man's parents. Is this your son? They asked. Is this the one that you say was born blind? How is it that he can now see? We know that he is our son, the parents answered, and we know that he was born blind. But how he can see now or who opened his eyes, we don't know. Ask him. He is of age. He will speak for himself. His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders who already had decided that anyone who acknowledged that Jesus was the Messiah would be put out of the synagogue. That is why his parents said, he is of age, ask him. A second time, they summoned the man who had been blind. Give God glory by telling the truth, they said. We know this man is a sinner. He replied, whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know is I was blind and now I can see. Then they asked him, what did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answers, I have told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too? Then they hurled insults at him and said, you are this fellow's disciples. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but as for this fellow, we don't even know where he comes from. The man answered, now that is remarkable. You don't know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to godly people. He listens to the godly person who does his will. We know that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to the godly person who does his will. No one has ever heard of opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. To this they replied, you were steeped in sin at birth. How dare you lecture us? And they threw him out. Everyone in the Jewish community thought when the Messiah shows up, everyone's just going to be great. He's here. The Messiah's here. But see, the thing about it, which is still true today, is people in power don't want to let go of power, even if something better comes. Remember in Lord of the Rings, Aragorn is supposed to be the rightful king, and then there's a steward. And when the steward finds out that Aragorn's now revealed, they're not happy that that new king is coming. Instantly, it's issues. And the whole movie in that certain section with his kids and everything. And they're like, remember, there's that one scene where he says Gondor has no king. Even though he's the rightful king. Just because you are doing right and you think that everything is going smooth does not mean you're not going to have resistance. Jesus heals this man and they're flabbergasted. And they don't know what to do. And so instead of being like, this is amazing, they say, well, he healed him on the Sabbath, which according to Jewish custom and law, you were not supposed to do anything on that day. So even though he did something good on that day, they immediately say, well, this man can't be from God because he healed somebody on the Sabbath. He doesn't follow our rules. See, Jesus was not religious enough for them. So when people get on to me about my language or the fact that I vape, and I say, see, that's how they were with Jesus. No matter what he did, they always pointed at these little things because we want you to fit in our box, and if you don't belong here. I'm not one to join crowds, and I don't kiss the ring. I don't care if I'm accepted or not. I know what I know, and that's what the blind man said. He goes, I don't know anything about what you're asking, but what I do know is I can now see. And it's funny because they try to trick him and scare him into joining what they're saying. Tell us the truth, as if he was lying. Tell us the truth. This man is not from God. So they're trying to scare him. But what they don't understand is this man has been blind all his life. They're not going to be able to change his mind. No matter what they say, he's not going to change his mind. Why? Because God did that to him. When I flew off the road, God did that for me. The bullets that could have entered my body, God did that for me. I don't care if you believe it. If you want to know why I smile, why I laugh, why I have overcome things that should have killed me, it's because when God introduced himself to me, we started this relationship, and now I know him and I walk with him. That blind man, no matter what they say about Jesus in the future, he will always be able to say, he made me see. No matter what you're teaching me or what you're trying to tell me, I'm not going to follow it. But his parents, on the other hand, because being in the synagogue was very important. They already knew that they had these rumors going around. And if you believe anything about Jesus, we're going to kick you out of the synagogue. So the first thing they think is this must be a trick. We can't let the people believe this. You were never blind. So they don't believe that he was blind, and they call his parents up. And his parents say, look, he was born blind. He was born at birth was blind, and he can now see. But how that happened, we don't know. Ask him. He's grown. And it says afterwards the reason they said that is because they were scared. There comes a point in time where you're going to have to realize that even when you're scared, you got to push forward. There's going to come a time when things that I say, people are going to be hating. And I already know it. And I've been so antisocial for so many years. I wasn't worried about what people thought. But there's always this resistance when you go against the grain. What school did you go to? How many degrees do you have? You're not allowed to talk because you didn't go to our schools. Jesus didn't go to their schools. He wasn't one of them. And yet he knew the book better than they did. And they knew it. So nowadays, you can go to college online and no one would know. But back then, there was no online. If you went to school, everyone knew. They knew. They knew that Jesus was a carpenter's kid. How does he know all of this stuff? And he would say things about the Pharisees and the religious leaders. He would tell people, you do what they say, but don't be like them, because they are like whitewashed tombs. The outside is beautiful, but the inside is death. He insulted them. And the only people that Jesus talked down upon were the people who thought they were better than everybody else. And I will be honest with you, that's the same issue that I have today in a lot of things that I am forced to do because of the courts. I love AA, I like it, but I don't like the look at me, I'm better than you. I'm better. I have 13, I have 25, I have this many years of sobriety, kiss my feet. I don't care how many years of sober you have. If you treat people harshly, I have no respect for you. If you are disrespectful and let me go mingle with the common folk, you can't teach me nothing. You're not, because I don't want to learn from you. You might be sober, and if that's the only thing that's important, well, I'm glad you're sober. But you're still a jerk. And we all know it. And see, that's how it is. People go from the drug world and the drinking world, and then they go into church or AA or anything else, and they want the authority and the power. They're not really concerned about helping you. They're like the attention they get from the seat they have. So they'll tell you to be quiet when they're talking, and when you're talking, they're talking to their neighbor. They have this big sermon in the beginning of some groups that say, don't talk when other people are sharing, because they want you to listen when they're talking. But when other people are sharing, they're whispering and joking with their neighbor. So you want me to do what you won't do. And there's a long speech and even some anger with it. Don't you know it's disrespectful to talk when other people are talking? Obviously, to me, you think what you have to say is important. And by the way that you're talking, it lets me know that you think what I have to say has no value. See, I can see all through that. If you help other people for selfish motives, at some point it will come out. I help people because I love people. Now, sometimes we are teaching people to be unselfish who have been completely selfish for years. So we tell them to do service work. We tell them to go help out. But at some point, that has to transform into I have a heart of compassion. And I don't know that that always happens. I don't. Many people who struggle with sobriety struggle with the God issue. If I did not have the God issue, I would not be here. If I thought that I was in this by myself and everything against me could take me out, I would have no peace. My mind used to ramble like a gerbil or a hamster wheel all day. Fear, fear, fear. And right now there's a numbness. I know what I see. I know there's things against me. But he protected me all those years in prison. And so I have to remember that. I have to bring the miracles from my past that happened to me, not to other people, to me. The times of grace. I should be in prison for life. That's a fact. The things that I did that I actually got caught for is just a small amount. If I had been pulled over this last time, a few years ago on my last felony, 3 days before, I would have had much more drugs in the car. But I had used most of them by the time I got pulled over this time. There were these little bitty moments where it could have gone this way, but it didn't. His grace and mercy was always there. I am in this because God has put love in my heart. And I speak the way I speak because I wish someone at my age, when I was younger, I wish they would have told me this. But nobody did. Even religious people, they had good intentions. They loved God, but they weren't free themselves. You cannot teach me how to be free if you're not free. If you are beating yourself up for every thought you have in your mind, for every word you say, if you think God is looking at you with a checklist going, this is what Bree did today, then you're not going to have any peace. Amber screwed up. You're not going to have it because we know how screwed up we are. But when you look at your kids, you don't look at them that way. You don't look at them as a list of things they've done wrong. You look at them in love. And that's the basis of my relationship with God. That's why I'm free. That's why I don't have the same urges. I don't have that thought in my mind that wants to get high and get drunk all the time. There's a louder voice now. And back then, whenever I thought it, I did it. I never had a voice that had any kind of sound to it that gave me the strength to not do it. But now when I think it, because I do think thoughts about using all the time. I danced with it for so long, it's impossible not to. And when I think about it now, there's another voice that says, don't screw up everything that you've got right And it's loud. Because I used to think I would miss getting high, and now I like what I have. And in order for me to keep it, I can't go back this way. Integrity. Being who you are. Saying what you say and meaning it. If I tell you I'm going to do something, doing it. Being honest. Not being something different. You ever been around people that smile at certain people, and when they walk away, they talk bad about them? See, that's fake. Like, I just want to be me, even if it's aggressive, even if my honesty is uncomfortable to people. I can't be fake. That's why people, when I hang out with them, I'm just letting them, this is who I am. If this is going to annoy you, we're probably not going to be friends. Because I'm not going to tone it down for you. I did that for so many years. In the classroom as a child, I tried to sit still. I tried to be quiet. I tried to be what they wanted me to be for so long. But the thing is, God designed me just like this on purpose. It's not ADHD. It's not a disorder. This was designed. My mind fits with the way I am. And if I was on medication and a zombie right now, I wouldn't even have this personality. I took medication for years and I couldn't even tell jokes. I was slow and I was like, I can't function like this. This is not the way I was designed. If he gave me this Lamborghini for a mine, he's going to have to show me how to drive it. Because I don't know what I'm doing and I can't. And I'm finally, what does that Rascal Flatts song say? I'm finally at peace with myself. Finally, I know who I am and I know what I stand for. If you get into a relationship and you don't know who you are, you become what they want you to become. If you go to a business and you don't know who you are, then you become, and then later in life, you're way down the road, invested in something, and you're upset because you never were that, but you became that because you didn't know who you are. People live and die and they don't know who they are. Ask them who they are and they'll tell you what they do. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. That's what you do. That's not who you are. When everything is in prison, when I talk to people, and in rehab, when I tell them, if your best friend's wife hits on you, what are you going to do? If somebody drops a wallet in your car, what do you... See, that's where that's who you are. Who are you? You ask people in prison and rehab, and they will all say, what is important? Honesty. But you're not honest. So you want someone to be honest, but you're not going to be honest yourself. Never listen to anybody who wants you to do what they refuse to do. I am extremely picky about who I let give me advice. It was very hard for me to pick a sponsor. Very hard. Because I'm not fixing to open up and share all this stuff with you if you don't have the ability to keep it to yourself. And everyone in those groups, they don't even know how to say or spell anonymity much. They don't even know what that means anymore. So I trust people in small batches, just like I did in the drug world. I never pulled out thousands of dollars in the first time I met you. I'm going to give you 20. I'm going to give you 40. I'm going to see how this transaction goes. And as we build up over time, I might start spending more with you, but I'm not going to be robbed on the first night. So I'm going to build this up over time. So that's how I do it in this world. I'm going to see how you handle the things that I've given you to trust. And if what I tell you everyone knows tomorrow, then God has now informed me that you are untrustworthy. And I used to get upset about that because I would think someone was trustworthy and then God would let me know that they're not trustworthy and I would be mad at them, but I shouldn't be mad at them because God was just clarifying who they are. I can't make you be what you're not. Some people are meant to be with me, some people are not. Some people will go on this journey with me and some people are just temporary. Never try to hold on to people that want to leave. If they want to leave, let them go. If y'all are not meant to be, if your friends are not friends with you anymore, let them go. Because those who are meant to be will stay. And if you drag something into your now that's not supposed to be there, it's going to cause nothing but problems. But it's hard for us. Because we don't see the big picture. We see now. Have you ever had someone in your life for years that you thought they would always be in your life, and then for some reason, y'all aren't even friends anymore? Some minor thing it spins out of control, and now we're not even talking anymore. That's hard. It's hard, but it's also true of this. We live in this social media culture where we have all these friends, and I say this all the time, but those people won't even help you change a tire. What their opinion has your opinion of me, and you're not my friend, has no value. I thought it was funny. There's someone that I really, really, really don't like, okay? If you work with me, you know there's a lot of those. And I heard this person talking bad about me, and it bothered me. And then when I was at home, I was like, Ryan, you don't even like this person. So who cares if they don't like you? But my first thought was, how dare she say that? Isn't that crazy? I don't even like her. I don't trust her. I don't want to be around her. If she doesn't like me, why does it matter? I like when Joel sometimes says, other people's opinions of me is none of my business. That's a hard one. Because I will second guess myself. Why didn't I tell those guys I flipped off the road? Because they would not have said it was God. They would have said it was 4 or 5 days up on cocaine. I didn't know what I was talking about. That's why I didn't tell them. Their opinion, and I could hear him telling me this as I'm driving. Don't say anything to them. I wanted to. I was scared. Like, what was going on? I was in a whoa. And I didn't tell them. And I drove them and I went home. And I remember that like it happened yesterday. Those little things in my life that happened. I don't care about other people's opinions of me. I care about my opinion of myself. And finally, this man who's looking in the mirror, the man who looks back, he has integrity and I like it. I used to look in the mirror and hate me. All of those years of drug abuse, you can call it a disease, you can call it whatever you want. It was an action, it was because of my self-hatred. I hated myself. I took care of my dogs better than I took care of me. I would have them out in public and I looked like I should have been in the Michael Jackson Thriller video and they looked well-fed and groomed. Because I cared about them more than I cared about my own self. And when I started to realize how much he loved me, then I started to realize that if you have a daughter or a son, you don't want them sitting on your bed thinking, I don't think mom likes me. I don't think mom's very happy. I don't think mom loves me. I'm not accepted in this family anymore. That was the kind of feeling I had with God. And if humans can love their children in an amazing way, then there's no way that my relationship with God should be any. What I was taught about God was not accurate. Humans can't love better than God. It's impossible. So if we, as flawed as we are, have this amazing love for our children, then God's love has to be better than that. So instead of being nervous and full of guilt, I can just come to him and he'll carry me. See, we think we got to get all this stuff together before we can get to know God better. That's not how it works. We have to be able to sit in his lap so he can teach us what we don't know. We're trying to perform. He wants us to get closer. And when he changes us, he said, we talked about this last time, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. This that I'm speaking is truth. This is truth about God. When you know how much he loves you, it will liberate you. And the things that used to tempt me that I fell for all the time, they're not tempting anymore because I'm not tormented. And the idea of being high is not appealing because I have so much joy right now. And I've never had joy, so I'm trying to cultivate it and make it stronger and spread it to anyone who will listen. I was once blind, stumbling in the dark. I had no idea what I was doing. And now I can see. And now I have to tell everybody. And the reason it had to go that way, Jesus said, it wasn't his parents who did this. It was so God can be glorified. I used to be like, God, why am I going through all of this? Well, if you didn't go through all this, then when you speak at that rehab, they wouldn't give you any credibility. When you go to prison, the reason they listen is because you were in prison. He who used to be bound that is now liberated. It gives me some credibility in what I say. When you tell your story, everyone knows that me and you are from the same, we're from the same tree. And they don't see that part of us because they weren't around when we looked crazy. Right. But when you speak and I speak and we tell what we've been through, then they're like, oh, these people who work here might have a little bit of knowledge because so many people at my work have been to prison. So many have been strung out. And that helps because we're talking to people who I know are looking at me going, this guy can't help me, until I finally tell them what I've been through. I wish I had a video recording of how crazy I was. But I didn't, even back then, I didn't let people take pictures of me, which is something I still very rarely do today. I wish I had it so I could show people, look, this is what I used to look like. I have one picture when I showed up to court, but I dressed up fancy for that. I was a toothpick with a tie on. But, I mean, I wish, because when people see, they just see the end result. But what they don't know is I've only been out of prison 2 years come August 29th. August 29th, I've been released from prison only 2 years. Do you realize what has happened in my life in these 2 years? Holy moly. It's outrageous. And it has not been waiting for the other shoe to drop. I don't think that that's my life right now. What I think is I've been through so much hell, God's given me a season of blessing. I don't wake up every day and go, oh, what's going to happen today? Because I am grateful. This is the only house I've ever owned, ever been in my life, that is a home. It's the only place I've ever lived. This is my home. When I walk through those doors, when I see these dogs, I am home and I am happy. I'm not chasing it. I don't have to have the nicest car and the nicest clothes. I am happy because my life has been a tornado before now. And now everything's calming down. And all of the bad things that I've been through, now there's purpose in it. It actually makes sense. I want y'all to flip towards the end of this message to the next two chapters in the front ahead of that. John chapter 11. And that's going to be the death of Lazarus. And I think that's 15:29 through 15:31. Okay, so Jesus heals this man of blindness. And every time he does something, his reputation is starting to spread. And the Jewish leaders who ran everything, they started not liking it. But even more so, sometimes Jesus would do these miracles and he would tell people, don't tell nobody. And I never really understood why he was doing that. But as soon as the Romans found out that he was making a name for himself, he was not going to be able to hide anymore. And if they thought he was creating a rebellion, then Rome would have struck it down. And they were the ones who brought crucifixion. And so the Romans came in, took over, and they still let the Jewish people have their customs and their temple and their ways, but they micromanaged it. And all the chief priests and the Sadducees and the Pharisees, they had to report to a Roman person, one of the Roman leaders, and they would tell them what you can and can't do. And of course, the Romans were getting taxes. They were making money. So, you know, that when Jesus flips over the money lenders in the temple, all them making money, you know, some of that was going to Rome. And some of that were going to the church leaders. And he looks out and he's like, y'all have turned my father's house into a den of thieves. And he flips the tables over. And shortly after that, they crucify him. So you can ruin my reputation, but when you start messing with my money, we have some problems. So he did all of that. Every single thing he did, his reputation got bigger. What we're reading right now, the death of Lazarus, this was the miracle that changed everything. Instead of hiding behind the door and telling people he raised a young girl back to life, he told her parents, don't tell anybody this happened. He told them all the time. This one, he does in front of everyone. Before we start, just know that Lazarus and Jesus were very close friends. Very close friends. Now, a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. When he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, let us go back to Judea. But Rabbi, they asked, a short while ago, the Jews there tried to stone you, and yet we're going back again? Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daylight will not stumble, for they see by this world's light. If a person walks at night, it is only when a person walks at night that they stumble, for they have no light. After he had said this, he went on to tell them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to wake him up. His disciples replied, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get better. Jesus had been speaking of his death, and his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. So then he told them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. Then Thomas said to the rest of the disciples, let us go that we may die also, that we may also die with him. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die, and the one who ever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. After she said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and is asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but he was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and also said, like her sister, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. Now, the very shortest verse in the whole Bible, Jesus wept. So it says he saw them weeping, and he saw the people coming there weeping, and then it says, "Come, let us see," and it says that's the shortest verse in the whole Bible. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," Martha said to the sister of the dead man, "by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days." Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." All right, so after he heals the blind man, Jesus teaches this sermon about sheep. And he says that he is the Son of God in a kind of a hidden way. And the religious leaders there hear him talking, and they say, "Are you saying you're the Messiah?" And when he's kind of hinted that he was, then the law back then was that the Jewish people could only stone someone in the temple courts. Every other death had to be done by Rome. So if they wanted to kill somebody, the Romans had to kill him, but they could kill someone in the temple court. So when Jesus said he was the Messiah, they picked up stones to stone him, and the disciples and Jesus fled, and he didn't die. So now they're back on the other side, and they're away from Judea. They almost got killed last time they were there, and Lazarus is in Judea. So then they get word that he's sick. And instead of immediately going, Jesus waits 2 more days before he starts to go back over there. And he tells his disciples, this sickness will not end in death. Then out of nowhere, 2 days later, he says, "Hey, we're fixing to go back to Judea." And they're like, "Lord, we just came from there and they almost killed us." And he said, "Look, Lazarus is sick and I need to wake him." And they didn't understand. So he just said it plainly, which he didn't always do. And he said, "He's dead and I'm going to go wake him up." So now they're scared as a group, which I was in prison too. I saw all this violence. I was scared. But yet, even though I was scared, he was still protecting me. And so Jesus knows that they can't harm him until the time is right. So he knew his disciples and him would not be harmed until the time was right. So he goes over there. When he goes over there, Martha and Mary meet him 2 separate ways. And they say, "God, if you had only been here earlier, he would still be alive." How many times in our life does something go wrong and something spins out of control that we think, "God, if you had just done this way instead of this way, I would be so much happier." But he said, "It's for my glory that I'm fixing to do this. I wish I had never been to prison. I wish I wasn't in drug court. I wish I could go on and on and on. If it hadn't been this exact way, then I wouldn't be who I am." And so even though this is hard to go through, and even though all of them were crying, and Jesus got so emotional at the funeral that he cries, we must always remember that he was fully God, but he was also fully man. He was called the Son of God, but also the Son of Man. And as he walked as God in a human body, he embraced all the feelings that we embrace. And he cried even though he knew he was fixing to raise him back. And they said, "If you had just been here, if you just done this a little bit better." Sometimes some of us get paralyzed in our walk with God because something is happening that we don't understand. And we say, "Well, something's wrong." And some of us give up completely. "This makes no sense to me, so I want nothing to do with God." And then my favorite part is where he says, "Take me to the tomb, remove the stone." And Lazarus' sister's like, "Lord, he's been dead for 4 days. He stinks. If we move this stone, it's going to be awful." I like that because I feel like it was Jesus saying this. "I know this situation is dead, but don't give up on me yet. I know with your own eyes, you don't have any idea how this is going to work out. And he's been dead, so he was really dead. This wasn't just a few hours. This is really dead. When they went to get Jairus' daughter, that she had only been dead for a little bit of time. And Jesus shows up. This man's been dead for 4 days. They removed the stone. And Jesus says this. God, I thank you that you hear me. I know you always hear me. But for the sake of those around me, I want them to know that you sent me, so I'm saying it out loud. I know that I could just think and it would have happened. Jesus, he's like, look, God, I already know that you got me. And I know that you hear me every time. But for the sake of those around, I'm going to say it out loud. Lazarus, come forth. I started off this message and I end this message with the same thing. Start looking at what God is showing you. Even if you don't like it. If he's telling you to cut someone off, cut them off. If he's telling you to go left or right or this or that, even if it doesn't make sense, if you have this desire inside of you that is telling you to do something, you don't have to see the end of the story. Just trust him and keep moving. They came out to Jesus and the first woman said, if you had been here, he would not have died. And then she hit with faith. Then she said, but I know even now. But I know even now, whatever you ask God will happen. That's where we need to be. We need to be but I know even now. I don't understand what's going on, but I still trust you. I don't like it. It's not comfortable. It's making me grow in areas I don't like it. But I know even now you're in control and you got this. I lost a job one time, and then I got the job I have now, and the story behind it is insane. But I thought I was going to get another job. Everything fell apart, and I remember I was very frustrated, and I remember saying, no matter what, I'm still going to trust him. I don't understand why. It doesn't make any sense to me. And not getting that job allowed me to have the job now that I have, which I like a lot better than what I would have been doing over there. I was frustrated that didn't happen, but God wanted me to go to this place. And if I had settled over there, I wouldn't be here now. At the end of that is the public miracle that now starts the plot to have Jesus killed. So many people saw it, they run back immediately to the Pharisees and say, this is what he just did. And now they're in a panic. Now everyone's going to know he rose people from the dead, and everyone's going to believe, and they're not going to believe. They're not going to come to us anymore. They're going to be like the Blockbuster of life. They're going to be what used to be but isn't anymore. No one's coming to us anymore. Like that they were immediately frustrated. And I say all of that to end in this. He did that in front of all of them to give them an opportunity. I need y'all to know that he sent me. And if God has not done these same incredible things in your life that he has done for mine, I want you to understand this. You don't have to go to prison and do everything I've been through, but you can either take me at my word and believe me, or you can say that I'm a liar. But if I am a person who tells the truth, then you might consider believing that God did do that for me. So some of those people who saw it, they went and told other people. The people they told, they weren't there at the miracle, but they believed them at their word. They said, this man was dead. We were at the funeral. They opened up the tomb. He stank and he walked forward. They believed their word. It's kind of like when we talk about to certain people who have drank and used for years, you don't have to be homeless. You don't have to have gone to the degree. You can arrest this right now if you want to. And you can just believe that if you keep going down this road, it's going to get worse. That's believing the witness testimony of someone else. So Jesus does this, and now there's all of this division. And that's what happens in life. You have to make your mind up that if you have had a bad experience with God in the past, do not let other humans rob you of the opportunity to make this. And the people in this room are safe people. If you're struggling right now, call somebody in this room. Pick up the phone and cry and go whatever you're going through, because this life is hard. And when I want to quit, I got to have somebody in my ear telling me not to. I got to have somebody encouraging me. I can't have people around me that say, well, it's not worth it. Just give up. What I feed on every day has got to be making me stronger. And if you're negative and you're just critical about everything, I'm not going to mess with you. Because this is so hard. I say this a lot, but it's true. You see me laughing and you see me smiling, but behind all of that, just know I am fighting for every single breath I take. The weight of what I carry is outrageous. Every day I feel like quitting. Every day I feel like I'm going to break, and I just keep going. And so I like all of you in this room that are my friend, because it helps me. It helps me to remember. Dan knows only this Ryan. He doesn't know me from the past. And what a disappointment it would be if I went back to be the old Ryan, because he's never even met him. Anybody that I'm in a friendship or a relationship with right now, they don't have to know the old crazy me. They get to only know this me if I stay the course. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And the discipline that I now put myself through on a daily basis, it's worth it. And when you see me laughing and you see me smiling, it is genuine. It's not fake, but it is a fight every single day. And I draw back to all of the dead things in my life that he rose to life. And it gives me the power to keep going forward. Let's end in prayer. Father God, we thank you and we bless your name. We thank you for where we used to be and where we are now and where you're continuing to carry us. When we are struggling, when we are weak, give us the strength to keep fighting. And let us stand up even when everyone around us doesn't. Let us stand up and say, this is what I believe, this is who I am. We thank you and we offer this prayer in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.